Summoned Servitor is a cool little card that I've been thinking a lot about the past few months. It does a lot of fun things that break the gameplay loop and make you rethink what other cards are in your deck. Recently, I've been playing in off-class mystics, first Sister Mary, and now Charlie Kane. Today, I want to talk through some neat ideas I have for the card and some interesting homes for it in general. So let's get into it. First, the card text itself. It's a 2-cost mystic asset that takes up an ally slot and an arcane slot, but unusually it is not actually an ally at all. It is a summon, so this means you cannot target it for things like calling in favors, nor will it be taken away with kidnapped. Charlie Kane cannot take it unless he chooses Mystic as one of his classes. It's unique, so you can only have one in play among all investigators, and it's also a customizable card, which we'll get into in a second. Its level 0 version has the text, as an additional cost to play Summoned Servitor, you must discard another asset you control. That is, another asset that is in play. That can be a steep cost since you generally like your assets that you've played, so what does the card do for us? Summoned Servitor enters play at your location. It can take one action during each of your turns, which can only be used to take the following action, move Summoned Servitor to a connecting revealed location. Well, it does nothing. Great. Let's look at the customizable sheet. As a reminder, customizable cards allow you to check boxes on them to upgrade their abilities, which we'll definitely want to do since the level 0 version just takes up space in our deck. Ticking one box costs you 1 XP, and that does count as an upgrade for the purposes of cards that give you discounts on upgrades, such as Down the Rabbit Hole. Filling up all the boxes of an upgrade lets you use that upgrade. And finally, the level of the card is equal to half the number of boxes that you could check, round it up. So an investigator that can take up to level 5 mystic cards can check 10 boxes in total. An investigator that can take up to only level 2 mystic, only 4 boxes. Okay, so what do we have here? Very quickly, the first ability gives Summoned Servitor a health value. Remember that it's still not an ally, and cards like Sentries of Secrets won't hit it. The next 3 abilities all add some actual functionality to the Summoned Servitor card in play, letting you take Fight, Evade, and Investigate tests with a base value of 4 at the Servitor's location. After that, it can also give you free movement. We'll come back to these in a bit, since they're really the main reason you're picking up the Servitor. Finally, the last 3 are some more utility upgrades that can change the play restrictions and the number of actions the Servitor can take. Now, let's keep in mind some important rules clarifications about the Summoned Servitor. First, when you use Claws that Catch, Jaws that Snatch, and Eyes of Flame to fight, evade, or investigate respectively, you are the one taking the skill test, not the Servitor. That means that even though you are using a base skill value of 4, you still get static skill boosts from assets in play and can commit cards to the test, even if you're not at the location. And your friends can commit to the test too, but they have to be at your location, not the Summoned Servitor's location. Next, somewhat unintuitively, given what I just said, even though you are taking the test, you are not taking the action, the Summoned Servitor is. So while that means that you won't get any benefits for cards that care about how many actions you've taken, like Payday, it does mean that the Servitor's action does not provoke a tax opportunity. So go ahead and investigate a location while you're engaged with an enemy. So let's get into 5 fun and interesting ideas for your Summoned Servitor. First up is the simplest, just put 1 XP into Wings of Night and you'll have a bad Pathfinder. Movement is one of the most annoying actions in the game and it won't provoke a tax opportunity, so this seems pretty good, but you can't move into unrevealed locations. And that's not great, but maybe it's useful in maps with lots of revealed locations or when you might need some backtracking. Okay, that's the bottom of the barrel. Let's move on to just using your Servitor to clear off BP locations with Eyes of Flame. Here's the tactic. Drop down your alien friend on a location with lots of clues and victory points and let them get to work. You can move on to another location and do something else, and hopefully they'll get 1 clue per round for the next little while. Remember, you can speed this up a bit by committing a deduction or getting the boost from Magnifying Glass in play, even if you're halfway across the map. So that's a pretty effective idea for pretty much anyone. Now let's move on to something a bit silly. Why not get some extra moves for free by committing a skill like Survival Instinct or Nimble to an evasion with Jaws that Snatch? You don't even have to be engaged with the enemy to try to evade it. That's pretty cool. Heck, you don't even have to be at the same location as the enemy either. Your servitor can evade something in some far-flung location. You commit survival instinct and automatically evade everything that you're engaged with, and you move. Now that's some insane value. Speaking of value, how about purchasing Dreaming Call and getting some more value for the assets you discard as the cost for playing Summoned Servitor? Normally, the card you're discarding is something with Doom on it or something that has emptied out its charges, and that's fine, and returning those to your hand is pretty good, but here are some other dumb ideas. First, Intrepid, which works because once it's in play, it's an asset, and you were going to discard it at the end of the round anyways. And then you can get it back into play again. It'll help out your servitor on a test too. Don't get me wrong, this card is not good, but this is the kind of silliness I enjoy. And then there's Luke Robinson's Gatebox. Hey, you always start with it in play, and returning it to your hand once it's out of charges seems pretty good. It's funny these kinds of cards that begin in play have a resource cost. Well, now you know why. Last up, why not do some detective work with the dream team of Alice Luxley, Michael Lee, and their undercover informant, the Summoned Servitor? Okay, let's put it all together. First, you need claws that catch to fight, and then eyes of flame to investigate, and why not just go all the way and get an extra action to do both? So here's the plan. The servitor investigates somewhere and has a base of 4 intellect plus the 2 from the detectives. Cool, you successfully investigated, so put some evidence on Michael Lee, and you discovered a clue, so Alice can deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. Next, you can have the servitor attack an enemy at the servitor's location with a base of 4, plus 1 from Michael Lee. Oh, and you should exhaust Michael Lee for the extra damage from this attack too. If the servitor was in your location to begin with, that's 3 damage to 1 enemy and a clue for you, all without spending your 3 actions quite yet. Is that worth all this XP? I don't know. Is it fun? Absolutely. Can anyone actually take both allies and check that many boxes into Summoned Servitor without teamwork-esque shenanigans? No. Well, Susie maybe. But also, perhaps you don't need demonic influence to make this a bit more viable in some other investigators. Okay, let's just finish up and remark on a few investigators who might be interested in this nonsense. First up is Charlie Kane. Who better to take advantage of increasing the base skill that you're testing to 4 than someone who has a base 1 as it is? But it's much more than that. He probably used his allies to boost a different skill test. He has the extra ally slot for the servitor, and only being able to mark 4 checkboxes doesn't bother him too much. I've been playing exactly this build with Charlie through Return to the Forgotten Age, and Seeker is his other class. It's quite good. Next, Norman Withers. Remember how we said that the level 0 version of the servitor is basically useless? Well, Norman's deck building is level 0 Seeker, level 1 to 5 Mystic, and 5 other level 0 Mystic cards. So, no need to waste his level 0 Mystic slots on the servitor at all. Just wait and put it into your deck later. Apart from that, the Investigate mode on the servitor is very strong, and Norman with his Seeker access can have a magnifying glass or deduction to make the servitor go a bit further. If he needs to help out with some damage or an evasion, the fight and evade the servitor can do replaces Norman's miserable base numbers in those stats. Next up is Sister Mary. I played this one with Michael Lee, kind of similar to the idea with Alice Luxley from earlier. Again, it seems kind of strange because Sister Mary is not really out here getting clues, but maybe she can. She can also give that dumb Intrepid idea a shot. I think most of the off-class mystics can take advantage of the servitor. I've seen it do some great work in Daisy as well. Lastly, Luke Robinson. I told you all about the Gatebox earlier, but again, the Seeker access can do some amazing stuff for the servitor since getting clues is important and there usually will be one around, unlike enemies. Luke can also get some more mileage out of the Wings of Night. Luke tends to like backtracking, and the servitor can move him to a location that he wants to be at in order to use his connecting location ability. He's also pretty likely to catch back up to the servitor in case they get separated. Well, that is it. Thank you for watching. Have you played with the Summoned Servitor? Let me know how it went for you. This video wasn't exactly about all the best things you can do with the Summoned Servitor, as much as it was sharing some fun ideas that let you reevaluate what you can do when you're taking skill tests that aren't at your location quite often. What silly ideas do you have? Let's share some stories down in the comments.